We have this narrative in this country about equal rights, and one of the rights that is highly venerated is the privacy right. If you actually look out in the real world, the most marginalized people, they have no privacy. I spent 18 months in the obstetrics clinic of a public hospital in New York City. And I just wanted to see what it was like to be poor, pregnant, and in need of publicly subsidized healthcare. There's this day of meeting with professionals in which women are required to sort of recount the most intimate details of their lives. A woman should be expected to talk to a social worker, a nutritionist, a financial officer, a nurse who will take a medical history, and perhaps an HIV counselor. The social work interview is perhaps, the most obviously privacy invading. Women are being asked about their histories with intimate violence and sexual violence and drug use, homelessness, the relationships that they have with the fathers of their children. And only at the end of that day are you given an appointment to come back and actually see an obstetrician. Public health folks will tell me that this is actually just good care. The thing is that it's only the poor who are being asked to provide the social context. Privately insured women, if they don't feel comfortable with having that conversation, they can say, no, I don't want to answer that question, or elect to find a provider that delivers care that's more in line with their needs. Only poor people are required by law to give that information as a condition of healthcare. When you try to sign up for Medicaid, when you live in public housing, when you're receiving food stamps, you have no privacy. Like, the state is in your life. The assumption has been that, well, if you want privacy, don't accept those benefits. That ignores the fact that there's a child protective service bureaucracy. And if you think about what those benefits provide, food, clothing, shelter, and healthcare. If a parent fails to provide food, clothing, shelter, or healthcare to their child, that's textbook child neglect. All right, so if you decide to try to keep your privacy by foregoing the public benefits, that lands you squarely in the middle of child neglect, and you will be investigated by Child Protective Services. I don't think that there's outrage about the surveillance because we tend to think that poor people bring it on themselves. There are two broadly schematized explanations of poverty. One is structuralist explanations of poverty. So that explains poverty in terms of sort of macro processes, things that are bigger than people. Poverty in terms of an economy that has lost the middle wage jobs of yesteryear that would allow people to support their families. On the opposite end are individualist explanations of poverty, and those explain poverty in terms of like shortcomings of the individual. So people are poor because they're lazy, because they're promiscuous, because they are criminally inclined. We think there's something wrong with them. And so therefore the invasion of privacy is justified. I think the answer lies in changing the stories that we tell about why people are poor.